What do you do when you're my age, when you've lost your partner? Why not focus on that challenge, that huge challenge of achieving perfection of character? Never, in the words of Marcus Aurelius, never attitudinize, never think harshly of people. If they do something that's bad, they're doing it because their genes tell them to do it. It's in their nature. All the arguments, think of all the arguments of history that now matter not a jot. Retain your cool. It's Stoicism is very difficult, and I think impossible and contemptible in ways, in asking us not to suffer, but to think of the suffering of other people. That's impossible. I went to a Buddhist retreat for a day, and someone said that, and I got up and walked out. If someone's suffering, you cannot tell them. A bereavement, for example, you cannot tell them. You cannot tell a mum or dad who've lost their soldier son in a helicopter accident, pause, think about how other people are suffering, your suffering will go away. The Buddhist who said that had obviously never suffered a bereavement.
Well, I doubt that. I doubt that.
Well, why? If you suffer
I doubt
a bereavement,
that the Buddhist. I completely understand the psychological phenomenon that you're pointing to, which is that it's completely useless to try to finger wag, stoic bon mots to somebody who's in the throes of,
That's
grief.
That's beautifully put. That's better than I could put it.
But it's highly likely to me that the Stoics and the most enlightened Buddhists have had their share of grief, and that they regard the injunction as being one of personal mastery rather than of what other people ought to do. Right? That it's an internal pursuit to try to constantly to try to do the impossible. The challenge is presumably the quest to do what's impossible.
Yeah, a different approach might be to embrace the suffering, to make it part of you. That strikes me as more sensible, and that's the advice I gave the mum and dad who'd lost their son in a letter I wrote them.
What have you found useful in your grieving process after losing your partner?
That it's not a process. Bereavement is not a process. It's a place. You inhabit the place, and you can rearrange the furniture, straighten the painting hanging on the wall, but you inhabit it, and you've got to live with it. And someone said to me only a week ago, she thought it's best to think of it as a two tracks, and one track. You can enjoy life. You can't enjoy life. The entertainment of the Trump presidency, the surf at North Maroubra, the company of friends above all, the friendships, the written word, the surface of the earth. Again, it's the third time I'm quoting Orwell. But the other track is you can be drawn into it. Just the yearning, the absolute yearning to be reunited with the lost partner.
Do you think you will be? Do you think you will be reunited?
No. But, she's before me all the time. Her presence is dancing around me. And I don't want to lose that. People say, get beyond it. Well, if my default position when I'm walking along the coastal track, my default position is to think of her, then so be it. I'm honouring her memory.
Would it feel like a betrayal should you get to a point at which you weren't missing her? Like that she wasn't present, or that maybe you were over the grief more?
Yeah, you fear that, and the other sense of panic, hint of panic, is that parts of her memory will be lost. C.S. Lewis writes about snow falling on the portrait of his lost wife. Other writers on this have speculated in some ways. The lost person becomes an historical figure, and I think one element of grief perhaps one part of it that is most manageable is the sense of panic that that's going to happen or is happening.
The disappearance of the memory,
Yep.
you mean? Yeah. Who was it who said that there are multiple deaths as a person? There's the physiological death, and then there's the death of all the people who ever knew you, and then there's the final time anyone says your name.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can think about grandparents or even great-grandparents, great-grandparents like that. It's so true. So a grief counsellor would say this is the universal experience. It happens to us all. You're on this trajectory. They're on it, and that's that common sense.
Yeah.
The other thing that's true is that there are a lot of people. You can live with sadness. That track of sadness, and you talk to people. You talk to a friend who's losing her sight. You talk to a friend who's living with multiple sclerosis. This is full-on pain every minute of the day. Sadness should be more manageable. It is more manageable.
Than what?
Than a shocking neurological condition or cognitive decline, serious cognitive decline.
Yes, my dad's going through that. My dad's got Alzheimer's, and to watch the everything that was profound and delightful and sparkling and effusive and intrigued about the world gradually just slop into a hunk of goo is barbaric. It's the most barbaric thing the fates can do, probably, isn't it? To gradually leach you of your personhood.
So if I'm required to think sad and nostalgic thoughts, to quote Shakespeare, bring back yesterday, bid time return. That yearning, that nostalgia, which is the biggest part of grief, I think, is something I can face, anyone can face. There are worse conditions.
Yeah.
There are worse conditions.
Are you a nostalgic person constitutionally?
I don't think so. I think you can. A song can waken in you nostalgia for a time.
Yeah. Or a smell.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? That sense of wistfulness that is at once unpleasant because you want to be back there or you're missing that thing. It's sorrowful, but it's also beautiful at the same time. I guess your life is probably full of that in the grief. I guess that is part of the grief. Right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Does it make you think about your own mortality or your own legacy?
Of course. I had a few staff together last night. It was 30 years to the day since I'd been elected Premier. And you think of the innocence of your personality at that time in 1995, elected Premier with Elena. One couldn't have imagined what life would be like 30 years on. You'd be grateful to be told that you'd be alive, you'd be healthy. You'd be sobered by being told your partner would be lost. I think there's an instinct in all of us that wants the promise of eternal life, but there's no voice from the void. As Marcus Aurelius said, we've got to walk without comfort into that void. And before we do so, make every contribution we can to the common good.